only write what you like to read. You know, don't try and write for a particular market. Don't see where the trends are going.
A.M. Shine, Irish writer of the novel The Watchers, has recently had his novel turned into a horror movie. Directed by Ishana Night Shyamalan, daughter of M. Night, who directed movies like The Sixth Sense, Science, The Last Airbender, Unbreakable, and so on.
And we had a meeting with Night, just me and Night, you know, and I was nervous for that one. And this is an important meeting.
Yeah.
And I was just pacing on the patio in the back, chain smoking cigarettes again, counting down the seconds until I had to talk to M. Night Shyamalan, you know?
Maybe at one stage saying to yourself, am I the only one who believes in myself?
You do start to doubt whether it was going to work out or not. I know I certainly did.
This is a GK Media podcast.
A.M. Shine, Irish writer of the novel The Watchers, first published in October 2021, has recently had his novel turned into a horror movie. Directed by Ishana Night Shyamalan, daughter of M. Night, who directed movies like The Sixth Sense, Science, The Last Airbender, Unbreakable, and so on. We are delighted to have you in studio today, Al.
Thanks, Gary. Thrilled to be here.
It is so cool that, like, a novel you wrote was turned into a movie, which is now in cinemas.
Yeah, it's still slowly sinking in.
And it was shot in Galway as well, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, that was one of the most exciting parts for me, is that Ishana was insistent on using the locations that we used in the novel for Mina. So it was very early on in the year, actually, when she first came to Galway. It was Ishana, the production designer, Ferdia Murphy, and Joe Homewood, the producer. So they came to Galway, and I met them in the Hardiman Hotel now, I think is called. And I just basically gave them a walking tour of all the locations that we used in the novel. So we had Noctons, we had Maingard Street, where Mina's apartment is. Unfortunately, I was hoping that the weather would be nicer. The weather was actually shocking. You know, Galway always does this to me every time. I was like, Galway looks amazing in the sunshine. Music on the streets, crowds of people.
Those 2 days, you got to come those 2 days in the year.
And sure enough, this thin mist this drizzle was everywhere.
Perfect for horror.
Perfect for horror. But, you know, you did the kind of the ritual walk down by the long walk and by the canals to get the beautiful sights in. But it was all just grey, you know, just battleship grey skies everywhere. But it obviously hit the mark anyway, because they came back 2 or 3 times after that with greater numbers every time.
Brilliant.
You had more scouts, and then Knight himself came over, and, you know, obviously they were quite taken by Galway. Understandable too.
It's mad that this is taking place on the streets of Galway and no one has any idea that there's like a Hollywood entourage on site scouting the place out for a film shoot.
I know. Yeah. Ishana wasn't troubled once. When Knight was here, I think he was asked for a photograph once or twice. I think so, yeah. Okay. But bar that, no one really seemed to know.
So let's take it all the way back then, because I've known you for years.
Of course, yeah.
And I knew you were writing, and you've won literary awards. And I suppose for me, you've probably really first started getting big into writing back in, I'd say as far back as maybe 2013 or so.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't really start until I finished university, because I did a master's in history there. Now, before that, I've been reading a lot. I'd read every Gothic horror story I could get my hands on. And the history master's is so intensive, and you're writing so much sterile language that I just had to get away as soon as that was finished. Like you're honestly doing so much work in that.
And were you thinking of being a writer when you were in college?
Even when I was doing the master's in history, all I wanted to do was write horror stories.
Okay. So did you grow up then like reading Stephen King, H.P. Lovecraft, all this sort of stuff?
Very much Lovecraft and Poe, and then any kind of the classics. I don't think I read a novel by anyone who was actually alive until quite recently. There was always the older work, because I really enjoyed the language. You know, like say Robert Louis Stevenson, anyone who just makes every paragraph just, you know, sing.
Okay.
You know, it was never about the plot. I remember finding these books in Charlie Burns. They were just collections of Victorian horror novellas written by authors whose names haven't really survived through time. But each story was so well written. Now, the plots weren't especially exciting, but the writing was just immense. And that's all I wanted to do was that. Now, granted, my writing has changed a lot since then.
Yeah.
But initially, that was what I kind of set out to do.
And were you in love with the books and the movies, or just the books?
Just the books.
Okay.
Oh, say horror movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, they're the only movies I watch.
All right.
You know, I only watch horror movies. I don't watch as many as I used to, but I used to collect them, and it's the only genre I like. I don't know why. I find it
so you like no rom-com posters in your bedroom growing up or anything?
No. There has to be something in the story that is odd or supernatural or inexplicable for me to engage with it. Any story where it's just regular life, I don't find it very exciting. And I just think genre-wise, horror is everything. Like, horror has all this. Horror has the drama. It has the romance if you want it. It has the science fiction element, supernatural. It's the one genre, I think, where there is actually there's no restrictions to it in that regard. Yeah. And and again, the horror I like, it's very much playing up the atmosphere and the feeling you get through the words. You know, that's what I've been trying to get right for over 10 years now. You know, it takes a lot of time, but I think I'm finally getting it now, where when you read my novels, you kind of feel the cold, the dark, the damp. You get a really good kind of impression of what I'm trying to make you see.
Yeah.
Which is basically what the author's point is, that you see exactly what I want you to see. And if I want to draw your eyes to our feelings towards a certain thing, then I'm going to try my best to make sure that you really feel it.
And so was there a point then where, because I know myself personally, there was like that turning point when I said, yeah, this is, and it was really around the age of maybe 10 or 11 when I said, you know, the film industry is definitely something I want to get into. Did you have a moment when you were young in life where you said, writing is definitely what I get into? Like, was there a teacher that cheered you on, or did you show a short story to a parent and they're like, oh, that's really good?
I remember writing a lot when I was in primary school. In secondary school, I was always good at English, but I never actually wrote. I was more into painting models.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I did, Warhammer when I was younger. I always loved reading all the lore about that. They were great stories as well.
Did you do like the role-playing stuff?
No, I just like reading a lot. Like I'd read anything. But I never actually wrote until I actually was much older.
Okay. I
never even tried it. I think in my 20s, I don't think I wrote anything, you know, short story or fiction. I just read all of it. And then when I finished the Masters, I wanted to give it a go, because I read all the stories and I loved them so much, and I wanted to contribute something to that legacy. So when I finished the Masters, I moved to Trieste in North Italy. It's where Ulysses went, where he wrote all of his sexy letters back to Nora. So I lived there for not long, I think maybe 5 months.
Ironically, you're living near where Nora lived in Galway.
I know, yeah, it's around the corner, you know. So yeah, I wrote a novella there. I went over with my thesaurus and a tiny little web book, and with no plot, a few ideas, and I wrote this awful piece of work. It was 55,000 words long. I had no style, no understanding of the craft.
How many words?
55,000.
It's a lot.
It's like a novella kind of length, you know, but it was terrible. I still have copies of this.
But at the time, I'm sure you thought it was really good.
At the time, I was so proud of it, you know, but it was just, it was more an experience to see if I enjoyed doing it. And I loved doing it. But I came back to Galway with my little manuscript that I naively sent off to publishers and agents, thinking, this is it now, we're good to go.
Yeah.
But sure, no one even gave it a glance because it was terrible.
And how long did it take you to write that?
I knocked out about 4 or 5 months, I think. But I was just doing that every day. I wanted to see if I could actually get a handle on writing. But when I came back to Galway then, God, that was when the recession hit too, wasn't it? I remember coming back to Galway and being surprised by how glum it was, you know? But I just started doing short stories then, because I realized that the best way to learn the craft is by doing small pieces, you know, where you can, you know, kind of capture a character or a theme or just a little short event and complete it, polish it, and then return to it and just try and condense your writing into one little example of what you can do. So I just started doing short stories for years and years and years. But
and where were they going then? Like, were you getting them published?
The early ones I was sending off to competitions. And that's a nice kind of way to gauge how you're improving. I know you can see it yourself when you read back over it. You can see where the writing is strong and the writing is weak. But one nice indicator is that suddenly you start getting, you know, long listed, and then you get short listed. And then after maybe a year or two, suddenly your stories are winning the odd competition, and you feel as though you're really making a bit of progress, you know? And one collection of short stories called 13 Tales of Ill Fate and Misfortune, because I put 13 stories together and I self-published them, and we had a little launch in Charlie Burns, and that was lovely, you know? But these were very...
What age were you then?
Oh, that was in 2013. So that's 11 years ago. Okay. So it would have been 29. I'm 40 now. Yeah. So, but all those stories back then were written in the first person POV. They were very, very dark, very gothic, nearly too much so, you know, a bit too wordy for a modern reader unless they really enjoyed the old gothic style.
Okay.
But that's what I used to do. And I even I wrote 2 other novels as well that were in that same first person, very gothic 19th century setting. Then I did another collection that was 17 short stories.
Wow.
And that was picked up by an American boutique publisher, very much kind of like it felt like a vanity project because they did nothing with it. They're basically the kind of publisher who preys on people who want to get their work out there, and they'll give you a contract to make you feel as though you've made it, but do very little with your work. So it was not. It was
and what did they get out of it then?
They get a cut of your sales. Now it was great. It looks good on your CV that you've been published by, well, a pseudo recognized publisher. But it's just nice having two collections out, and it just puts your work together. Now, both of these collections I've taken off the market now because I want to focus on the novels, and they're old. You know? I'm not embarrassed by them, but I just know that, I
can't believe how much writing you've done, though.
Oh, I've done hundreds of short stories. Yeah.
Like it shows that it's not, an overnight success type thing.
Like when I was working in jobs, I'd write every night, I'd write every weekend. I was notorious in the pub for leaving the pub early and going back home and just writing till about 2 or 3 in the morning because I love nighttime writing.
Yeah.
So, like most of the time with the short stories, even if I didn't have an idea, I'd sit down and just write a scene and just be like, right, that'll do. Just make it up as I go along. And then hopefully something will come to me. I just wanted to write, just to practice, I loved it. I still love it.
So is it like you get this urge, it's like, I gotta go, get this out on paper.
I just love the English language. I love playing with it and stuff. And, and it's that feeling of getting better and better and better. If I was struggling to get anything, any acknowledgements competition-wise or anything, I probably would have given up long ago. When I got older, because I think time was kind of coming at me pretty fast. And I was thinking, okay, I'm going to be 40 soon. And I was working all these jobs in town that, they paid my bills, but I didn't have no interest in them really. I didn't dislike them. I would never work a job I didn't like. I always enjoyed retail. I liked chatting to people, and it was a nice counterbalance to the loneliness of the writing I was doing. But as time went on, I was writing a lot, but I was never taking any opportunities in the workplace because I didn't want to take on more responsibility in any job because that would only influence my work outside it. So when I was getting to my late 30s, I realized, okay, I got to either have one more shot at this or I have to start pursuing proper work, But
that's that's amazing. That's a good 10 years of your life where you just kept at it. No, numerous rejections, I'm sure.
Oh, you wouldn't know how many. Yeah.
Because I remember even like at one stage when we were writing feature film scripts in the early years, like we could have literally covered our office and turned it into wallpaper, all the rejection letters that we were getting. And in fairness, one of the rejection letters we got, but it was a lovely rejection letter, was Patrick Stewart.
No way.
Yeah. Who hand wrote a letter to us saying that it wasn't for him and why and so on. And we thought, how cool is that?
I hope you framed that rejection letter.
I don't know where it is now, actually. But yeah, it's really, really hard to keep going when the rug is being pulled from under you. And I suppose you're watching, and this is just my take on things. I'm not saying that this was going through your head, but, you're watching friends, settle down, get houses, get married, have kids, and you're still fighting the fight in the corner.
Yeah.
Maybe at one stage saying to yourself, am I the only one who believes in myself?
Yeah. I don't know. You do start to doubt whether it was going to work out or not. I know I certainly did. That's why I think the last job I worked that wasn't writing, I was working in a shoe shop in town. And I remember that's when I wrote The Watchers. So I was working there full time and I wrote The Watchers at night and at the weekends. And then it came to around Christmas and I finished kind of this early draft of the manuscript, but I knew it was good. It just needed a bit more work, So I'd already cut my hours down and worked. I went from 5 days down to 4 days, down to 3 days. The more writing I was doing, the less I was working.
Okay.
And then it came to Christmas time. This is in 2019. And I just like, right, I'm just going to quit. This book is good. It was actually the first thing I ever wrote that wasn't first person POV Gothic style. It's the only modern thing I've ever written at that stage.
Right.
So I quit the job. And I had enough money kind of saved up because I wasn't really doing much socializing that time because I was writing all the time. And then after Christmas, I just started editing. And eventually it was this kind of the best I thought it could be. And I sent it off. I had a whiteboard in my bedroom. And every time I'd find an agent online, I'd see, because that's a long process as well.
Yeah.
You have to research every agent, see what their interests are, write a personal letter to them, have they all want different length, synopsis or query letter or whatever they want, you know. So on this whiteboard, I kept, every time I send it off to an agent, I'd write their name down and eventually the whiteboard had about 40 or 50 agents on it. I'd hit up every single one I could find. And I was like, right, that's me done. So I just kind of sat back then and lockdown hit. So everything suddenly shut down anyway. So I was just sitting there with my manuscript and this long list of agents' names. And then if he got back to me, And one in particular then, a guy called John Baker, who became my agent, he read the sample I'd sent him, but he refused to read the synopsis because he really liked the sample and he didn't want to know what happened in the book. So I sent him the entire manuscript.
Because the synopsis will tell you
everything.
A to Z.
Oh, yeah. It's like a 1 or 2 page beat by beat from the start to the end.
Okay.
And he really enjoyed the samples. So he wanted to read it all without having it spoiled for him, which I really thought was a really nice gesture, you know? Because a horror book, you do, the surprises kind of make it, you know? So he read all of it. And then he asked to have a meeting with me. This is during lockdown now. So I was living on my own in my apartment, couldn't see anybody. So we had a Zoom call and we really clicked straight away. And he offered me representation there and then.
Wow.
For the Watchers. And geez, I remember after the call, then I think I was weeping afterwards. You know, I remember calling my parents and like some of my closest friends, but I couldn't even see anyone to celebrate because I was stuck in the house on my own.
Yeah.
But like that was the culmination of over 10 years of hiding away and writing to eventually get the agent was just a huge deal in my life, you know? And it's funny then because you think, oh, I've made it now and this book is going to get published and everything. But we couldn't sell the book, would you believe? This was in April that I got the agent and we didn't sell the Watchers until December.
So he goes to a publishing house then, is it?
Yeah. He makes it like a product almost. He has a banner, he has a synopsis, he has about me, he has a sample of the book. And John's job then was basically to approach all the different publishing houses and have meetings with them and try and sell it. Now, a lot of people expressed interest because horror it's in a better place now, but it was really improving then. And the majority of them said, yeah, really interested, but we're going to pass this time. It's not for our list. Even we thought we had Penguin too. And Penguin UK said yes. Penguin Ireland said no. I don't know why. It's an Irish horror book, you know. And eventually it was getting close to Christmas. And at that stage I was writing The Creeper, my second book. Mm-hmm. And my agent was like, listen, we can't sell the Watchers. Maybe we'll just hang back and we'll sell The Creeper and we'll put the two together in a package. And I was like, okay, that's disappointing, you know, but that's the way it is. That's the way it is, you know. And then
So are you still working that kind of job in retail through all this?
This is during lockdown, so there were no jobs.
Okay, yeah.
So I was just writing full time now, which I loved anyway. It suited me.
Yeah.
Like I wrote The Creeper in less than a year because I was just writing every day. No, I was editing for much longer than that, but the first draft was done very quickly. So then eventually we sold.
When you say it was done very quickly, when you say it was done very quickly, are you saying that you wrote the draft in a year, or you did the draft and the
I started that.
Because I have no idea how long it takes.
I started writing The Creeper in April, and then I finished it, I think just around Christmas time, maybe early January. And then
that's everyday writing?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, but I'm very slow and very finicky when it comes to the sentences.
Yeah.
And then I remember I sent it off to John, just to skip back to The Creeper, I sent it off to John, and then I emailed him the next day saying, no, I read it back, it's shit, send it back to me, don't read it. Because I sent it off to John, and then I read a bit of The Watchers, and I was like, what am I doing? I've totally lost the style. So I just went back to it and just did a full, complete, nearly rewrite then for the next 3 or 4 months, you know? But the thing is, when we did sell The Watchers eventually at Christmas time, it was Head of Zeus, who are now owned by Bloomsbury, and they bought the 2 books. So they're like, out of nowhere, we thought we'd no book deal, and they took the 2 books, hardback, audiobook, paperback, everything. They did the full works.
Cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. And that was.
So have you actually done an audiobook now of your book?
No, they get professionals to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I wouldn't be able to add the gravitas and that they do, you know, because they have to make everything exclamation point. And, you know, if you said, you know, it was like, you know, Gary cried, you have to actually make that kind of convincing.
Okay. Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
So, no, I don't think I have the patience for it, actually.
That would be fun, though, wouldn't it?
That would be the crack, actually, yeah. Because when I listen to the audiobooks, I always find that they do read the sentences different than the way I read them.
Yeah,
the emphasis is kind of different, and it kind of annoys me.
Yeah.
And they always ask me, too, like, about the accents for the characters. Like, I remember during The Creeper, they're like, okay, have you any preference regarding the narrator? And I was like, just make sure it's not a dub, because I don't like the dub accent. I don't want them to read my books. And then they got back to me and they're like, we actually have a dub who's doing it, but it's a very soft Dublin accent. And in fairness, it was wonderful. Like, it was a really, really cool job. But my only gripe was that there's one character in The Creeper called Chloe. I swear he made her sound like she's from, I don't know,
a rough part.
Really rough part of Dublin, like, you know. And this is not the way the character was meant to be, you know.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, geez, how are you, Ben? It's like, what?
That's funny, really, how the audiobook becomes a different interpretation of the actual written book. Yeah.
Very much so, yeah.
So John is working his magic. He got you the deal with the publishing company.
Yeah, got the deal. So that was Christmas 2020, and the book wasn't going to come out until October 2021.
So is this really when you started getting your first paycheck?
No. So this thing is way down the line. So this is 2020. Okay. So The Watchers didn't come out until the following October 2021. So there's nearly a year to wait before The Watchers comes out. I'm still making no book money at all. Okay. Because there's no advance in this deal because I was a debut author. And you wouldn't believe the changes that the editor made. Like, I think, I didn't realize this until I got the book deal, that the work that goes into it and how the book is so polished by the editor, the proofreader, then you have the typesetter. There's so many stages, Like when The Watchers was picked up, it was only, I think it was just under 70,000 words, which is too short for a novel anyway. A novel has to be at least, 90,000, 10% down. So 81,000 is like the least you can go for. So the editor, Holly Domney, she nearly broke my heart. She gave me 2 weeks to make all these edits because they came in quite late to me. So I'll tell you some of the changes. They were crazy.
Yeah.
It's like I wrote the whole book in just Mina's perspective. So I did something that I didn't realize existed called head switching, where it's fine Mina describing her own thoughts and feelings, but in the novel I had her describing other characters' thoughts and feelings, which of course is impossible because she's not inside their head.
Yeah.
So I had to change chapters so that suddenly there were chapters from other characters' perspectives, which meant a complete rewrite of those chapters. One character who dies in the prologue, there was never a prologue in the original cut, but this character who dies, he's dead when Mina gets to the coop, and she was like, can we bring him back to life because I'd like to have him as a character? And I was like, we can't do that because that will change the entire dynamic. So we'll give you a prologue. So the prologue was a new addition as well. And originally in the book, all of the characters escaped the woodland. And she was like, we can't have that. Someone has to die. And I was like, okay, shit. So I remember at first I refused to do it because I really loved all the characters.
Yeah.
But eventually then
It's like your family.
Yeah. So eventually we're like, okay, we have to kill somebody. So there's only one character we could kill because I needed the other ones. But by killing this character, then I had to edit everything after that because he was no longer in it, So, and I had to put in an extra, like maybe 12,000 words in these 2 weeks to bulk it back up to 80,000, So these were huge changes, but the book was so much better afterwards. If the book had gone out.
But what were you like at that time?
I was at a mental breakdown. I went back into cigarettes again. I remember chain smoking cigarettes, sitting in my window in Maingard Street, and I was drinking every day as well, just to make sure that, the mind is still going, wired.
Oh my
But
God.
it worked out though. But the thing is, like I said, the money wise then, that didn't come out until October 2021. And the way my deal was, this might be every deal or just my deal. I get paid 4 months after. So I get paid what I made 4 months ago. So I had to wait until November, December, January, February. I had to wait till February to get October's money, And it's only a debut novel. So you're like, you have to wait a while. So it comes through very slowly in increments. But the great thing was that the book came out in October 2021, and straight away there was film scouts contacting my agent who were interested in it. So we had.
And I think this is unbelievable. Was it your agent who started making this happen, or was it that just people were naturally coming across the book?
The agency have producers who kind of cover that side of things, and they basically take the book and they kind of shop it around to a certain degree and put it on the right desks and talk to the right people. And straight away it was what was that year, wasn't it? Yeah, it was in case of before Christmas. We had a meeting with Knight, just me and Knight. I was nervous for that one.
That is mad.
I don't get nervous in meetings, but this one was like weird for me because how much is on the line,
But I have to say, that's really proactive of an agency where it's not, just getting a book published, but it's like, let's keep going as much as we can with this.
Yeah.
Ending up where one of the biggest Hollywood horror directors out there is now sitting down having a Zoom meeting with you.
Yeah, even the fact that he read it was exciting, But he knew straight away when I spoke to him, he had the idea that that Ishana was looking for something, and she was after a blend of horror and fantasy, and that just fitted her perfectly, So
tell me about that day then of how did you find out that you're getting a Zoom meeting and that whole process?
When I found out about Night, I was basically pinned to the floor because we had interest of a few different film people, but the options are very low and there's no guarantees. There weren't big names attached, but I was still excited, of course, And then when I heard about Night, I remember I was in my bedroom at the time and I was on the call to my agent. I remember just sitting on the floor, collapsing down by the radiator on a cold night, to keep from shaking. But you don't want to count your chickens really. You don't want to get too excited because these things come and go. And I don't want to invest all my hopes and dreams in the movie. But then we scheduled the Zoom meeting, and that was amazing. I remember I did it in my parents' house because my apartment in town is just so noisy, and this is an important meeting.
Yeah.
So my parents went off to Dunn's to do the shop, and I was just pacing on the patio in the back, chain smoking cigarettes again, counting down the seconds until I had to talk to M. Night Shyamalan, you know. But when I spoke to him, he's very genuine, very sincere, and he knew the book really, really well. So he was asking questions very much pertaining to not plot holes, but kind of ambiguous areas in the narrative. And it was fascinating. Like, he really was interested in the story and kind of just wanted to get an absolute handle on it. And that was that. We spoke for like an hour, and we left on great terms, and he expressed his interest, and then it kind of just picked up from there, you know. Suddenly, kind of negotiations were starting, you know, and then we had a few more chats about it, and then I spoke to Ishana. And yeah, suddenly it was happening, you know. And it's amazing how quick these things take off too.
When did you get confident that this was really going to happen?
Well, it took maybe nearly a year of negotiations. Like, I was so keen to get it signed. I was like, just take it, do anything, you know? But the producer, Stephen Dembitzer, he was like, he's the guy who basically worked all the contract. A contract which I never read, by the way, because it's like 30 pages long. I couldn't be arsed.
30, like, you've written novels.
I know, but it's just so dull though. But it covers everything from, like, if they make like a spin-off TV series, a prequel, merchandise, everything. Every aspect of it is covered, you know. So that took
because it's cool that your name is on the posters.
Yeah, that was in the contract as well, actually, yeah. So Stephen orchestrated that, so my name was on every poster. I think, anyway, that's my agent told me. I could be wrong with that. I mean, that could be Night being kind to me, you know. But yeah, another thing was getting us the premiere in New York. That was in the contract.
That was class.
Yeah. Because I think it was suggested that they'd send us to a different premiere, maybe in like London or somewhere. And they're like, no, Al wants to go to New York. So, you know, all these little kind of things. But the longer it went on, the more worried I was getting. I was kind of like, is this falling apart? Are we having, you know? But eventually it worked out, I think. I don't know what little, at the end they were just like dotting I's and doing tiny, tiny changes that could be, you know, misinterpreted or something, I think. But that took a year. And then as soon as the contract was done, then straight away it was happening. I was getting like more meetings with Ishana. I got sent her screenplay October of that year, which is a bizarre thing to read. It's like, it's amazing because it's your novel, but it's written with such immediacy and there's such little changes. It's like, I don't know, it's like it's reading something you know so well, but it's not the same.
Oh, 100%.
You know?
Well, I suppose even one of the things is that, you know, when you were going on about the head switching or whatever, you know, in a novel you can really give the backstory of every single person, every character. Whereas in a movie, you don't have that time.
No, sure. I think it was less than 2 hours long.
Yeah.
Whereas the audiobook for the watchers would be 9 hours. It's 9 hours of storytelling, and Ishana has less than 2.
Yeah.
So you have to focus on what you want, what your interest is, what your vision for the movie is. So Ishana's vision for the movie was very much, even in all our meetings, she was fascinated by what the watchers were, which didn't really actually feature in the novel very much. It's kept quite ambiguous. It's kind of mentioned that they were old gods, which is the Tuatha Dé Danann and our mythology, but that's never really explained, you know. I kind of left that open. Yeah. Whereas she found this fascinating, which it is, you know, the Irish lore is amazing. So we had great meetings about that, and I was sending her, I was just using my old history skills again, writing up kind of these synopses of different aspects of our history and mythology and how it kind of ties into the novel, which then she put a lot of that into the movie, you know.
Brilliant.
I guess, yeah, if you want to focus on that, then of course other aspects have to change, you know. Whereas in the novel, you really feel the time in the coop. Because of all these pages, you get to build the characters and their loneliness, because they're trapped in this one building night after night. So the novel focuses more on that, whereas Ishana's one is far more cinematic and exciting. So it's more colour, more sound, more action, which is what a movie should be.
Yeah. I mean, it'd probably work as a theatrical play, just focusing on just being in the coop all the time. But for film, it's definitely harder.
Or if you had maybe like a 6 or 7 episode series, you could dedicate more time to it. But, you know.
And was that, you know, looked at any stage of maybe doing a limited series?
No, I heard no whispers about that.
Okay.
No, it was always about the movie.
And then you find out that Dakota Fanning, who, you know, like one of my favorite movies is Man on Fire.
Yeah, great movie.
So I was like, wow, Dakota Fanning is in a movie. And I know the guy who wrote the story that the movie is based on. And oh my God, it's coming to Galway. And
it was very strange. Like Dakota's name, apparently she was very keen on the script. We had a few other names attached to the movie, not essentially for Mina's character. I was thrilled when they got Georgina Campbell, because have you seen Barbarian, the horror movie?
No.
Oh man, it's brilliant.
No.
Oh, she's so good. She's brilliant.
Because I think she's brilliant in the,
she's wonderful.
The Watched or The Watchers,
Oh,
depending on where in the world you're watching it.
Yeah,
Because it's called The Watched in Ireland and the UK.
Yeah, I thought it was a copyright issue, but then someone told me it was to save confusion. There was a Netflix program, I think, called The Watcher or something.
Okay.
Either way, there was a one-letter difference in the name that they thought was too similar. The casting of Madeline was what I found most intriguing, because the character is so, she's so unique to the book and she's so distinctive. And then Alwyn Fourier, who plays her, is just the perfect casting.
Yeah.
But all this news is coming in, and it just builds the excitement, when people are attached to it.
And like, were you muted at any stage where you couldn't kind of tell people anything that was going on? Or
at the start, I was kind of told to keep it to myself. That was the very early days. But then, you tell a few people in Galway, and then it's amazing how secrets get around a little bit, But I found out actually my agent was telling everybody over in London, So I didn't feel so bad about it then.
Like, you've written the novel, you've seen the screenplay. Like, was your work done and dusted at this stage?
For The Watchers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Regarding, like, I was hired as a consultant, but that very much was just having discussions with Ishana about the lore. And I read the screenplay, a few different drafts of it, just to give my feedback on it, But again, that was very much just...
So were you on set for much of it?
No, I was only in set. I went down to Wicklow twice. I was in Ardmore Studios, and I was in the woods in, is it called Ballinstobe, is it? Yeah, so that was great. Like, the Ardmore Studios, because of the writer's strikes, or the actor strikes.
Yeah.
Usually there should be about 6 or 7 movies been made there, but The Watchers was the only one. So it was just so deathly quiet down there. But I went into the soundstage, and the coop built inside there, the interior of the coop. So I got to watch them filming a few scenes, and I got to meet all the actors. So that was the surrealist thing. I got to stand in the coop in front of the mirror with the characters from the book that I did, which is so crazy.
Yeah, that was mad.
So yeah, I was only there in Wicklow twice.
Okay. And then in Galway when it was...
in Galway, yeah, that was great fun. I think all the cast and crew had a great time in Galway anyway.
You did some of the writing in Noctons, did you?
I used to write there a lot, yeah.
And then to think that...
But that's the scene.
The story was turned into a movie that was shot then in Noctons in town.
Yeah, and that's the pub where there's an opening scene where Mina is outside Noctons sketching strangers. Then she goes into the bar, and that's when she gets given this parrot to go on this little adventure. So it was all Noctons where it was actually based.
Okay.
So it was amazing that they actually filmed it.
And are you drawn to, like, whatever city it is now, the Bohemian city? So, like, at one stage, Paris was the place where, all the great writers would have went in the early 1900s and so on. And, like, there's been different Bohemian places and cosmopolitan places. Is there a place calling out to you at the moment, or do you think Galway is?
No, I just keep to myself anyway. Like, I don't kind of dip my toe into any of the artist communities, any of the writing things that have been happening in Galway for the last few years. I've never taken part in it. I just don't. To me, writing is it's a private thing. You keep your head down, you work, and that's it. I don't need to talk to somebody about what I'm writing. I don't need to hear about what they're writing. It's something that I always like doing things on my own, be it like painting, music, writing, anything. I don't like anything to do with teams. I don't like team sports. Either someone lets you down, you let someone else down, and you share the defeat, you share the victory. If you're doing something on your own, it's all down to you.
Yeah.
And it's depending on how good or bad you are, it's down to how much practice you put in. I just like doing things on my own. So no matter where I go, it could be the most wonderfully Bohemian place in the world. I would still probably keep to myself and just kind of, stay in the periphery a little bit.
I'm a lot like that myself, actually. I'm not one for team sports. I prefer just going to the gym and do my own thing, but I love just going for walks on my own and sitting down on a rock on my own. And
same.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the way, it's the way we are.
It's the way we are. And like, if you're writing as well, I'm curious about this because I know Christopher Nolan, who writes a lot of his movies, he might even write on a typewriter or something. I know you don't write on a typewriter, but like, he's no technology near him, no phones or anything like that. But would you even just like knock off the Wi-Fi on your laptop if you started writing, so you've literally no distractions? Are you able to discipline yourself?
I'm pretty disciplined with that, yeah. Like, usually I would do my notes up on like a sketchbook, no lines, just kind of jot down. It looks chaotic. It's just squiggly lines and words for planning. And then when I'm writing, I just put on music and just have the laptop there. But it's weird, different times of the day. Like, if you're writing in the afternoon, then you're distracted. I don't know why. The head is not designed to write in the afternoon. And I can hear the music, which is a bad sign. If I'm listening to the songs, where I know when the song changes, I'm not paying attention to the laptop.
Yeah.
But then at nighttime, if I write after 9 o'clock until 2 a.m, you don't hear the music. You don't even know the time is passing. You're writing. You don't even consider checking anything, because it's just a weird.
Well, they said the best time to write is really early in the morning
Yeah.
or late at night, because
Yeah.
your subconscious hasn't kicked in.
Definitely.
So the creative flow is there. And then the subconscious kicks in. It's like, what the hell did I write?
Yeah. I know. There's always that dread.
Retract that.
So yeah, the afternoon is the worst time. Good for editing. Editing is fine. But for creating new prose, I wouldn't say the afternoon is for me. But then everyone's different.
And have you written something and halfway through just kind of said, look,
All the
no.
time. All the time. Yeah. I have so many abandoned projects. Yeah. That's a part of the process though, And I hate it too. Like I've always, I remember The Creeper, which is my favorite book. When I finished that, I hated it. I wanted to scrap all of it because everything about it, I thought it was too slow. I thought the writing wasn't good enough. I just had a mental breakdown. And then it turns out to be my favorite book at the end of it,
That's mad.
Even the new book I just finished there is coming out, just a sequel to The Watchers. Called
Yeah,
Stay in the Light.
Yeah.
Yeah. That gave me, you ask anyone who knew me, I don't know how my girlfriend handled me at that time. I just couldn't, I wasn't enjoying it, because I was under very, very tight deadlines to get it finished on time. And I kind of agreed to do it before realizing how difficult a horror sequel is to do, because there was never meant to be a Watchers sequel originally. So all of the mystery has kind of been dispelled. You kind of have an idea what the creatures are. What you have is a very kind of high concept location and everything for the first book, but you can't repeat that in the second, Like the reader might think they want more of the same, but they don't,
Yeah.
But you have to give them something that is close enough to it that it feels the same, but something new to also entertain them, So a lot of difficulties, not especially in the writing, more so in the plotting, and the pressure too is coming in strong now, because now you have a lot of readers. I think The Watchers on Goodreads now is like 20,000 ratings or something like. So we've sold.
Wow.
I think we sold about 80,000 copies of The Watchers, I think.
Wow.
So a lot of people who enjoyed that book will be looking forward to the sequel,
100%.
and I don't want to disappoint them.
Yeah.
So the pressure was more, I was putting it on myself. I wanted to make sure the book is as good as possible.
Yeah, it's so different now this time, because you wrote The Watchers just to write a book.
Yeah, and expecting no one to read it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Hoping they would, but not
knowing. Yeah.
So,
and before we get into the sequel, because I think, the movie might have played a role in that, in terms of the drafting of it and so on.
Oh yeah.
But look, you got to meet up with Georgina Campbell and Dakota Fanning, which I'm sure was really, really cool.
Yeah.
And they were nice, which is always important.
They're lovely. Yeah.
Because you hate to hear stories where actually actors who you think are really cool just turned out to be not the nicest. So that's brilliant to hear. So the movie's shot, and of course there's this quite lull, I'm sure, when it's gone into post-production for editing and music and so on. And then you find out that you're heading to New York for the premiere. Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, that was it was the first time in America, actually.
All right.
Yeah. So I didn't know what to expect. I didn't expect the treatment that Warner Brothers gave me. That was totally, like, you're talking, I was making, naively making plans. Okay, how do I get to Shannon now? And it's like, when this guy called Cameron, he was basically a Warner Brothers lad who organized all my travel arrangements, and for my agent, Basically, I was picked up at my apartment, just like black SUV, first class Delta airline flight. They put me in this 5-star hotel across the road from Carnegie Hall in what I think is the only suite, because my room kind of jutted out from the building and no other room did that.
Wow.
And basically everywhere you went, you were just, you're given all this, everything was kind of free. It's just weird. They treated you like, maybe this is normal for some people. It certainly wasn't normal for me.
That is so cool.
It's very strange. And then you had the premiere itself. You had like the red carpet, but the black carpet. That whole experience is, it's not for the likes of a lonely horror writer who sits at his desk all the time. So I really did appreciate just the experience of it, because it might never happen again. Who knows?
Well, after it, were you like, I want more of this? And
it's very easy when you stay in a hotel like that. Yeah. Like, I don't know how much it cost a night, but they gave me like $250 per day in incidentals as well for the hotel. You'd be surprised how fast that goes. I think a cappuccino was $16.
Okay.
Myself and Izza went down for brunch, and that was $180.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That's two meals, 2 coffees. So,
and you have to tip as well in New York.
Oh my God, it's insane.
Isn't it? It's like, is it 20-25% or something?
Yeah. Yeah, but all these prices though, if you have to look at the bill, then you really probably shouldn't be there, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But no, that was fun. And I do really enjoy the movie thing. And I really enjoyed all the people involved, the crew and everything, and that sense of camaraderie and everyone, you know, it's a whole new experience from writing at a desk. So
because in fairness, you know, I'm not going to name them, but I do know of writers who have had their works turned into movie, but they were very much burnt by the experience.
Yeah.
They didn't enjoy how they were treated in the aftermath and so on. But
well, I guess how you're treated could be very much down to the contract you negotiate, you know?
Yeah.
Then again, it's just down to, I don't know, maybe it's different experience, different people. I was treated very, very well. I still think I have a good relationship with Knight and all. Like he called me part of the family when we were hanging out down in Wicklow. Because I actually went down there. I went to Wicklow. Actually, this is a funny story because the rap party was on in Dublin and it was on a Sunday. And he asked me to pop down to the last day of filming on the Saturday. And I was like, listen, I can't. I have to meet I want to meet Isabella, my girlfriend, because she's a 9-year-old child and she wasn't free the weekend before. So my only chance to see her was that Saturday. So Knight was like, bring her down. So they put us both up in a hotel and they brought us out to this house in Wicklow that they were filming the very last day shooting in. This is an amazing experience because all of Knight's family came over because it was Ishana's, last night. So Bhavna was there and Salika and everyone, and the energy on the set was just amazing. It was a night shoot. Okay. So they laid out all the shots they had to get that night. And the only thing was they had to get everything finished before the sunrise, because none of these shots will work with daylight.
No.
So
the last kind of scenes in the movie.
The last few scenes,
shot,
it's in Kira's house. This wonderful, it's like a modern, nearly mansion in the woods in Wicklow. But a few scenes at the start, they took longer than they thought. And I was sitting with Knight and his family in this kind of back room with all these monitors, and you could tell it was getting a bit tense because we're like, we need to get these shots because if we go over, it's going to cost a fortune to do it again. And the amazing thing was that at the very last, the sun was actually rising. And it's so cool. It's a video of it, all of us there actually, but the sun was rising. So the sky was paling, and this last shot with Alwyn and Dakota outside. And they're like, we got to go. And like basically they did the last shot and like, yeah, we got it. And then everyone just cheered and the sun came up nearly that same second,
That's class.
It's amazing. Yeah. It's something else
And would you be like messaging them on WhatsApp now or anything like that?
I kind of email Knight a bit. We kind of keep in touch that way. I know he's interested in this, in reading the sequel anyway.
Yeah, so let's get into this then, because like you didn't intend to write a sequel to The Watchers originally.
I didn't kind of totally shun the idea. I just didn't intend writing one so soon. I don't lock into a trilogy. I know there's a lot of people online who wanted a sequel to The Watchers.
You're locked into a trilogy?
Yeah, that's what I've done now.
Wow, okay.
But I locked myself in because a lot of people wanted a sequel, but I just didn't see a way that I could do enough I could change it enough or give something interesting,
Because this is coming out now in October.
Yeah. Like if I want this grand, epic, kind of horrifying event to happen regarding The Watchers, and I need this middle book to set that up. It's strange.
Yeah.
Like the ending, I don't want to tell the ending, but the ending is kind of like, it's more eerie and sinister than it is, jumping into another book. So I needed to lay the groundwork for what I think is going to be an epic conclusion to The Watcher's story. So that's kind of my book.
So like Ishana's interpretation / screenplay of your novel is different.
Yes, to the book.
To the book.
Yeah.
So then you're writing a sequel, but are you trying to balance your book and her interpretation?
I've kind of linked it in to a certain degree. One issue was that the ending to the movie changed about 2 or 3 times, and the original ending was giving me great difficulty in working into the novel because it really was very different from my own one, and I couldn't see a way to kind of consolidate the 2 narratives. And then that changed something else way down the line, which meant I could go back and scrap that and start again, which is fine. So they're very, very similar. There was one ending that they filmed during the reshoots that would have been perfect for me.
Okay.
They didn't use it. I thought they were. When I saw the premiere and it didn't come up, I was like...
Oh, so you didn't see it until New York?
No, it was my first time seeing it.
Oh, wow.
So when it got to the ending, I was kind of like, please, please, please. And I was like, okay, fine.
I have to go back and I have to rewrite.
It's fine. I found a way I found a way to begin the sequel a few months down the line, and then I could kind of fill in the gaps and stuff, But yeah, I did have to include a few things that Knight kind of would have liked, in it, which is fine for me. It was lovely kind of have this collaborative kind of energy. We were kind of discussing the plot. I was throwing ideas at him and then he'd come back with a few, which is nice because I've always planned these things on my own.
And Knight produced it, isn't it?
He did, yeah.
Production company.
Like the final product, the sequel now was very much all of my ideas. A lot of the ideas I had with Knight, I found just weren't really working out. Not that they were bad ideas, they just didn't suit my kind of style of writing, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm very pleased with the way the sequel turned out.
And is it done now? It's all...
Oh, it's done, yeah. It's all sent off to print. They're actually, the reviewers, they have early review copies that they can request from Bloomsbury. So there are people reading those now.
Oh, wow.
So I'm glad there are 2 fights.
And why is there such a gap? Because right now, as we're recording this, it's like late June.
Well, the review copies are just, they do an early typeset. It's not even the final draft, but that gets given out to people who get to read it early in exchange for a review. So like this morning, I saw there were 2 5-star reviews in already this morning, which is great for me to start my day. But they get an early review copy. And then I think it's going to be sent off to the printer maybe next few weeks. And then it gets print hardback and then sent off. So yeah, it's good. Hopefully it'll do okay. Like I never thought I'd write a sequel to it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, now I'm thinking like, do I write the third one now? I'd love to write something else. But the momentum is kind of going with the Watchers now.
Yeah.
Like, I think I have one more book with this publisher.
You're beginning to think like a business person.
I know, it's not terrible. That's not who I am. The thing is, there's one more book. Actually, I'm thinking about covers. I have one more book with Head of Zeus, Bloomsbury. And I know that if I do the last Watcher book with them, that they will make all the covers go and sync together.
Oh, yeah.
That's lovely on a bookshelf, isn't it?
It does, yeah.
Whereas if I write a different book for them, and then let's say Head of Zeus don't get me for the next contract, if someone else jumps in and gets me, then the book won't be the same as those. And that's going to bug me.
Yeah. I get
I like when a bookshelf is, coordinated. Even especially if there's 3 books in it, it's 3 books, then they should.
So is the sequel, Stay in the Light, the sequel novel, is that part of the negotiations where it can be optioned to be turned into a movie as well?
No, that's just kind of my own thing. I didn't have to write it at all. Like, in fairness, with the contract, let's say they wanted to make a sequel and I didn't write one, they could do that. I would still get money for it, of course, but they can make up their own story. So we decided, listen, it's my kind of baby. I'd like to write, if there is ever going to be a sequel, I'd like to write it myself. And you would also get more as well if they use your novel.
Yeah.
So I was happy to write it. I really enjoyed doing it. Looking back on it now, I went through hell, but I say I enjoy doing it. I enjoy parts of doing it.
And is it part, like, do you think there's interest in it becoming a movie?
I guess it entirely depends on how the first one does.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoy the movie that they made. I think it's doing well out there. Some of the reviews are good. Some are quite divisive.
Well, one thing that kind of gripes me a little bit about the reviews is that they're picking at Ishana because she's the daughter of M. Night, rather just seeing her as a standalone. Like, it's her directorial debut feature and she's in her mid-20s. And, I think she's done a really, really good job. And I think people, just because of who she's the daughter of, that they think that they can just be slapped in, a bit. So, that bothers me.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think the Shyamalan name kind of hangs over a little bit like a shadow, People are expecting a twist. They're kind of, even Knight's movies are wonderful, but again, they're quite divisive with audience and critics especially, and the fact that she wasn't given this opportunity because perhaps of who her father is, this term Nepo baby they're throwing around on YouTube, which I really find that quite horrible. They should judge the movie on her own merit, not on her father's name, but on the movie she makes, And I think too, as my friend told me, like, a lot of these critics, they want to find fault in her, A lot of these critics, they kind of, maybe they're filmmakers themselves. Maybe they haven't had the same opportunities. Maybe they're bitter about that, but they're cutting her down, and it's a shame. Like, the movie is wonderfully shot. It's a beautiful story.
When I saw it in Galway, there was a woman beside me and she was like right on top of her hubby, her boyfriend or partner, whatever. And she was wincing and she was like covering her eyes at one stage. It was during a fight scene in the house.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, like, this is every director's dream.
Exactly.
Where you're getting a really strong emotional reaction from your audience, whether it's blocking their eyes or wincing or squinting or crying or laughing. For me, as more so as a producer, I can see the big wish for a director is to get a big emotional reaction.
Yeah, elicit that response you're after, And again, like I said, the movie looks amazing. I think it's a great story. like the story she made, shall I say. I'm not just picking up my own novel. I think the adaptation is beautifully done.
So how has life changed for you now?
Not at all. Nothing's changed.
You're still under pressure with deadlines.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing a short story now for an anthology I agreed to do, which I love doing. I've written a short story since probably 2019. So I'm loving doing this.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I finish this story, I have to start planning the next book. So I'm still trying to decide whether it's going to be The Watchers 3, which I should do really.
Oh, you said like The Creep is one of your favorite books. Would you do a sequel to that then?
I don't know. No, I think it's kind of, I couldn't do any more with that. Yeah, The Creeper, I love The Creeper so much. I think it's just the writing and everything. It's really kind of slow and eerie. But yeah, once I finish this short story, I'll have to start cracking into the next book, because I think Greg, my editor.
What about like going on holidays for like a year in Hawaii, no?
I have a few, yeah, can you imagine? It wouldn't be so bad, would it? I have a few holidays planned, because I can just go anywhere with the laptop anyway, you know. So
True. You could be a digital nomad.
I could.
The envy of so many of us.
I could, yeah. Yeah, but then I fell in love as well, like, you know, so I'm stuck in Galway now because of that.
They ruin everything, don't they?
I know, don't they? So yeah, I must take more holidays. I should do it.
But like, have you had a chance to let this all sink in and just...
Not really, no. I couldn't even enjoy the movie stuff because this book was breaking my heart.
Okay.
So, but
and when did you actually like close it out and finish this book?
Oh, it's only, I think the last editor sent off yesterday.
Oh my God, wow.
The last ones came back into me between the proofreader, and I just want to cut a few things. So yeah, that's just been a bit of a rush. Usually I like to have at least a year to write a book. I wrote this in about 5 months, 6 months. But I was doing like long days, up in morning and working until about 2 or 3 in the morning. I was going mad, you know. But at the end of the day, it was worth it in the end, like, you know, because...
And you've written 3 books now in your apartment.
That's, yeah, 3 in the same little place. So I think I got to get out of there. The walls are closing in, Garry, you know.
What would you say to, you know, someone out there who is looking to break into the industry as a writer, or even is an aspiring writer but just doesn't have the confidence to pursue it?
I'd say kind of mirror the route that I took, which is basically hone your craft with short stories. Only write what you like to read. You know, don't try and write for a particular market. Don't see where the trends are going. Like, I spent years writing Gothic horror. There has never been a market for Gothic horror. I just love writing it. Yeah. But then when I switched my writing to modern horror, all the Gothic stuff that I'd kind of learned over the years, that bled into this. And that made my books really unique, because it was a modern horror novel, but there was a Gothic kind of energy there, you know? So I say, write what you love to read and just keep on practicing. Do a short story, polish it, go on to the next one. Keep trying to get better. And send them off to competitions. Usually you pay for them, not very much, or some are free. Yeah. And just send them in, and you might get a long list, a short list. You'll see yourself progressing over the years, but it will take years. You know, you can't just write something and say, I'm done now. Yeah. Like, I know a few people who are doing maybe the NMA in English writing, or maybe just want to be a writer, and the first thing they're doing is a novel. And whenever I see them, they're like, oh, I'm working on that novel. It's like, what are you doing working on a novel? It's going to break your heart. It's going to take you a year to write it. I guarantee you that you won't. It's not your best work yet. You learn more by writing 20 short stories with 20 characters and 20 voices and 20 different situations than you will by doing a novel, because you haven't got the tools yet. You need to, you know, you need to find your voice. You need to understand how to structure, you know, sentences and paragraphs on the fly. You know, it's just, you learn a lot just by practicing. Like, I never had any English lessons, you know, writing. Yeah. I did history. Everything I learned was just through trial and error and reading and enjoying doing it. Yeah. You know, it's like learning a music instrument. It just takes practice. Yeah. Look, the most important thing definitely is enjoying doing it. If you don't enjoy it, you won't do it, because it takes too much work. And it's funny what you said about, you know, write what you enjoy to read, because I know people who like to write but don't read, which I don't understand. Strange, yeah. Like, it's weird. I still read. I'm reading back again now because the book is finished. And I get sent free books now by people to read, cool. Which is great. Yeah, they want blurbs and stuff, so I get free books. But when I'm writing, though, I don't read, because it breaks my heart. Like, if I'm struggling with something that I'm writing, and then I pick up a book and it's beautiful, I want to throw it out the window. So, like, you finished. God damn you, you know. And finally, then, where do you get your inspirations for your stories? Well, the new ones, I was trawling through Irish folk tales and superstitions, which is great fun. I never thought of doing this until I did The Watchers. Yeah. But there's a wonderful kind of fount there to draw from. And I don't know if going forward, I've been labelled now as the kind of Irish horror guy. Yeah, you have been. I know. How'd that happen? So Like, actually, funny story, when I was doing this story I'm doing now for the anthology, it's called Unearthed. It's a really cool idea for a book. Like, all of the some of the best horror writers around right now are contributing to it. But the idea is that they're taking like real archaeological sites around the world, like Pompeii, Machu Picchu, the pyramids of Giza, anywhere, and you're setting a horror story there. And I thought to myself, this is brilliant. Now I get to write a story somewhere that's not Ireland, where will I go?
Yeah.
And then I was emailing the editor just to thank him for the opportunity and to accept it. And he was like, yeah, like, could you do like an Irish story by chance? And I was like, fuck,
I'm stuck.
we're still stuck on the island.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's cool. I'll be that guy, But before I started doing the Irish thing, it was just writing anything. Like I said, I'd sit down and write without knowing what I was doing. Often I would actually do the old Gothic thing where...
So you wouldn't have the end of the story figured out?
No, God, no. Most of the time I wouldn't know.
Okay.
Or sometimes I do that fun thing. It's more of an exercise, but some of the best stories I did early on came from this, where you put someone in an absolutely horrible situation, whether they're being buried alive or chased down a corridor by something that's like ticking behind them. Do something like open with a horrible thing. And then after that paragraph, go back to the start and tell the reader how they came to be there.
Cool.
And that's cool because straight away you got like it's something to anchor you in place
and
to aim towards.
Yeah.
And everything else then is just kind of filling it in.
Yeah.
Horror is great like that though, because you can do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Well done.
And in a short story too, one more thing is it's great. You don't have to develop so much on the character. Whereas in a novel, it's very much character development. That is something that you should kind of focus on once you've got the handle of everything else,
Excellent. So Mina's in Stay in the Light anyways.
She is, yeah. And the parrot.
All right.
Yeah, man.
All right. Interesting.
I don't know why the parrot was such a hit. It's very strange because I just, it was The Watchers was taken from a short story that I wrote years and years ago that I did nothing with, but there was a bird in that short story and I just happened to put it in the novel and it just stayed there. Actually, when I was doing the edit.
Do you want to tell people just quickly a brief synopsis of the story? Because even I think that as a short story is a cool short story.
Oh, the original?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. So it was only around 1,500 words. It was about this kind of a dealer in rare birds, or a chap who makes money in dealing in rare birds, but he got a bit of a thrill out of keeping them in cages. So he wasn't a very nice man. He just liked this idea of having a cage bird. So his car breaks down, very similar to the Watchers outside of Woodland. He goes in there and... again, he finds this building. It was quite different from the coop, but it was a building with this wall of glass. And he's in there, and at night, these kind of creatures come up, which he can kind of see. It's not like in the Watchers where the window becomes a mirror.
Yeah.
But he can see these things outside the glass. And eventually, an infant of the species kind of crawls up towards him and starts tapping its little kind of hand against the pane. And he reaches down to touch it. And as he does, the child is like ripped away by its mother. And then he kind of realizes that he's in the cage. He's in the zoo, basically,
Yeah.
And that was all. That's just where the story ended because I had nothing else to do with it, It's like an exercise.
Yeah.
But that idea of having this building in the woods with this glass, I was like, that was cool.
Yeah.
So then when I came to writing The Watchers and I designed Mina and I sent her off into the woods, I was kind of like, there we go. Let's send her there.
Yeah.
So when I was sending her there, I still didn't know what was going to happen there or who was there. I just knew that I was going to get her to that kind of bunker.
Cool. And it shows as well how the short story can years later evolve into
the ideas.
something else.
It's just ideas. That's all it is,
Yeah.
And it's amazing how the good ones will stick with you. Like when you're sitting down with a blank page and you're trying to plan a new story, there are some things in your head that just don't go away. Like when before I did the sequel, I'd already written around 50,000 words of another novel that I've kind of forgotten about now. But that was one of those ideas that I'll have to return to that, because I love it.
You just don't lose your USB keys or access to your cloud.
I know.
Could you imagine?
Christ, I know.
Oh, well, good news. Oh, yeah. And I want to say congratulations to you as well, because your book now, The Watchers, is in multiple languages. Some that I can't even understand.
No, where have we gone? We've gone...
Germany is one of them.
Yeah, there's a Czech version, Germany, Poland, Thai, Spanish. There's definitely more. Russian, I think, is coming as well. The Czech one is funny because I told you earlier they changed the name to Face Thieves, which is quite funny. It's a cool name,
Yeah. If people, read the book or watch the movie, they'll get the joke there.
I know the German cover is very cool. I'm looking forward to seeing if any other countries get artists on board to change the cover.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Listen, the best thing is that you make most money I make, I think, or any author makes, is probably through Kindle. Because if you look at the print sales, my publishers always take a massive chunk of your earnings anyway. But, you know, they have to make sure that your book is printed, that they sell it to a bookshop, that the bookshop restocks it and it's on a shelf. And as someone goes into the shop, to the horror section and finds your book, you know. Whereas a Kindle is just always there. And the more foreign rights you sell, it's going to exist forever in all these languages. Like the Spain one is huge, or Spanish language, I say. That's massive for all the Spanish speakers. It's always going to be there until the day I die, available to buy on Kindle. No one has to print it. No one has to stock it. It's just there, you know.
You're leaving a legacy.
It's great.
It's class.
But the thing is, that's why, you know, I know people say a real book is great, but for authors, honestly, to earn your living, the ebooks are a wonderful way to do it. Yeah. It cuts out the middle person, you know. Now the publisher still gets a cut, but I get a much bigger cut of the ebook, you know. It's a weird contract thing where I think you get 25% up until you sell so many copies. And then when you sell so many copies, you go into 50%.
All right.
Which is huge on ebook because people are clicking on it all the time.
Yeah.
And like The Watchers, because of the movie, The Watchers I think it's nearly in the top 500 of all the Kindle books in America at one stage, you know, which is huge.
Yeah.
So I love Kindle. I'm all about it.
Brilliant. Well, The Creeper is available on Kindle because I noticed that yesterday when I was doing my research, as is The Watchers. And out this October is Stay in the Light, a sequel to The Watchers. And for more information, head over to amshinewriter.com.
That's it, yeah. I'm actually putting some work on my website now. I got a new publicist 2 weeks ago, and she nearly gave out to me. She sent me this really long email with a list of how to do my Twitter, my Instagram, my Facebook. I don't really do these things.
Oh, you got to start doing reels, man.
Oh my God. They're like, do a newsletter. And I was like, I'm too busy for a newsletter. Are you insane? But I did change my website so people can actually, you know, link to buy the books now.
Okay.
I just had photographs on it. It was terrible. You know, I was paying.
Outside napkins.
I know, yeah. I can't believe I was actually paying every year for this site. That's just I don't know, it's a bin for photos.
Well, that's why actually we help people, little plug here, with social media management, because I always feel when you're really busy, you actually don't have time to be putting stuff up on social media or making changes on websites. Yeah. So it's a good thing.
But it makes such a difference though as well.
Yeah. Well, now's the time to get that all sorted while the movie's out in cinemas.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't actually replied to my publicist's email yet. I will do that. There's just so much there.
Well, you only finished your other book yesterday. So
I know, yeah. That was my excuse. Now she knows I finished it. Yeah. So.
And you had a podcast, and you're a busy man.
Actually, yeah, no, I was
get an assistant.
I was inundated with podcast requests when the movie thing was announced. I just didn't. I'd much rather chat to you in person, you know?
Thank you so much for...
I'm not a big fan of Zoom calls and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's the difference of being in a studio, especially chatting to a mate as well. It's lovely.
Oh, it's class. It's class. No, I'm delighted for you.
No, thanks for having me in. This is great.
No, I'm delighted. And I know you've been inundated as well with requests to appear on other podcasts. So thank you for choosing us first.
Oh, it's my favorite podcast. I don't listen to those podcasts. You know, it's my privilege to be here.
Yeah, no, thanks a million, and continued success.
Thanks, Garry.